Okay, welcome back. Sorry for the delay. Not that matters since it seems most people are watching these on YouTube instead of watching them live, but I don't really give an advance warning. Anyway, so yes, we are continuing with my live stream of our life, beginnings and always. Specified because there is going to be another Our Life game. The demo is released. I've not played the demo. But I probably will say that at either when I finish this, or I may do a Sunday stream and play the demo then. I'm getting distracted. Yeah. So I don't know. The wedding DLC for this game has been, it will be released on February 7th, so by the time this uploads to YouTube, it will have been released. Because I'm uploading these 2 weeks after I live stream them. I don't know if I'm going to go as long as I usually do today. My stomach has been kind of iffy lately. I don't know why. But it's doing okay for now, so I'll try to do the full time that I usually do, depending on the moments that I pick. Hope I have the correct match. So the problem is I have 2 different computers. And I don't always remember which mouse I need to use. So here we go. Load. Okay, so we may start on the DLC. It depends on how long these 2 right here are. But we did 3 DLC last time, and maybe 3 this time, or 4, depending again on how long they are. So here we go. I've just been tired too. I think it's because my twin visited for Christmas, and she shared her cold with my sibling, who then shared with me. So, but I think I'm on the mend from that. Anywho, you don't need to know that. I will have links to the base game itself in the description on YouTube, and if I play any DLC this time around, I will also have a link to the Step 2 DLC, and next time I definitely will be playing the DLC, so I will have a link for that in that video description. So basically, if I play the DLC, I'll include the link to it. If I don't play the DLC, I don't include the link. Right, so let's go. Sunlight shone through the windows as you sat in your living room. Your home phone pressed to your ear. Cove was on the other end. This probably sounds so wild to people who grew up with cell phones, but this was my childhood. I grew up with regular landlines. Cell phones weren't even a thing until I was in high school. So that gives you an idea of how old I am. That I basically watched cell phones and the internet become this thing. I remember life before the internet. We used computers to play video games, but we didn't use them to communicate with people. We used them for schoolwork. We typed up papers. We didn't use them for research. If we wanted to do research, we had to go to the library. And if the library didn't have something, they could request it from another library, but it took a while because it had to come through snail mail. So I don't know why I'm saying all this, but I'm just saying that this is my childhood, so I totally get where this is coming from. People who grew up with cell phones wouldn't get it. But I get it. Now my family doesn't even have a landline. We all have cell phones. So what's the point of having a phone in the house? Because if people would talk to us to call our cell phone, all we were getting on the landline were spam calls. Anyway, Cove was on the other end. It'd been shaping up to be an ordinary day like any other until Cove had called unexpectedly. He sounded unusually nervous greeting you. What was this thing called again? Dinner. I wonder. Listened silently as he kept talking, his words stilted. So I was just wondering, do you want to come over to my house for dinner tonight? Yes, I was hoping that this would be what's come up. Because so far we've only seen Cove come visit us. We have never gone to visit Cove, though I'm sure this isn't the first time. Although maybe it is. Maybe he was more comfortable going over to your place. Because some people do just like having others in their space. The question came out strangely, almost like he'd rehearsed it a few times beforehand. That's something he absolutely would do. Your eyes widened a little. You hadn't expected this to be the reason behind the call. That's you're totally accepting. It was, huh? Oh. You're probably going to explain more. I remembered to grab my dice beforehand. For once. Well, I just grabbed my dice, but I didn't wait until I was going to roll the dice to actually grab it. It was him? Oh. Seemed that Cove still had more to say, and you just interrupted him. Cool. Well, he said for a bit, trying to gather his thoughts again. My mom and dad, they really want you to be there if your parents don't have a problem with it. They asked me to ask you. It took a moment to think. Dinner at home would be quiet and uneventful today. If you really wanted to, you could go to Cove's instead. Cove spoke up again, breaking your thought train. His voice was softer than before. Also, I want you to be there too. No! Oh, my heart. My heart. Can you come over to me? We should act first, so I can't see them diffusing. I'll have to ask my mom and let's get back to you. Okay, tell me when you can. You sound noticeably relieved by your response with you coming over for a dinner today. That serious? He spoke to you for a little while longer to explain what time to come over and other details, then hung up. And that was that. For now, anyway. You called Mom right afterward, and she picked up on the third ring. It wasn't a long conversation. When you asked to go to the Holden house for dinner, she was more than happy to give permission for it. No problems there. Ma wasn't one to complain about you spending time at Cove. Cove got a quick call from you afterwards, so we knew for sure that you would attend the dinner. So you said your goodbyes and went on with the afternoon. Soon enough, the sun dipped out of the sky and evening came. It was time for you to head to Cove's house. Mr. Layla was know you were leaving. She didn't look away from the TV, just grunted. You went to small journey across the street. Yeah, that sounds about right. You get so absorbed in the TV, you don't really notice what else is going on. That's me. I like that when I'm doing anything, watching TV, reading a book, playing a game on the computer. If I am focused on that, I don't really notice what's going on around me. Knocked a couple times on the heavy door to their condo. You waited for an answer and found yourself contemplating being a guest while both of Cove's parents were there. Why would decide to let you out of the booth? Maybe you'll find out later tonight. You didn't get too much time with your thoughts, though. The door opened soon enough. Cove's mom, Kyra, stood in the frame, smiling warmly at you.
Come on.
Hey, Jules. Welcome. Please come on in. She opened the door wider and moved to make room and stepped inside, allowing her to shut it behind you. Thanks so much for coming over. I know it's kind of last second. Thank you for having me. See, you remember your manners. Manners matter.
Of course.
Just make yourself at home. It's not my home, but I've been given permission to say that. Hey, Jules, welcome to our humble abode. He jerked her head towards the sound of Mr. Holden's voice. He waved at you briefly from the kitchen with his back turned and a large spoon in hand. If you're hungry, because I'm looking up a lot of tasty stuff. Through these words, you heard something sizzling on the stove. You closed your eyes and inhaled. It's spicy and savory. Delish. Mr. Holden busy and Cove nowhere to be seen. It was just you and Kyra. She gave you a rice now. He sure is. Well, I've been barred from cooking the entire time I'm staying here. Can you believe that? She nudged you with an elbow. Mr. Holden scoffed good-naturedly, then spoke from over his shoulder. You're on vacation, Kyra. You need to accept that already. That was very much what I thought when she said she was barred from cooking. You're there as a guest. Taking a break. She yelled back, and an obvious on her face and in her tone. People still cook when they're on vacation. Everyone's got to eat. Don't like I'm some celebrity who can go out for every meal or hire a private chef.
Sorry.
So in this house, you're a VIP. Kyra smiled and shook her head quietly. Then she turned to face you once more. I'm glad that close parents managed to get along. Whatever caused the divorce, it hasn't caused any lasting damage to their relationship.
Well,
Sorry about that, Jules. Here I was, trying to strike up a conversation with you, and Cliff just had to butt in. I don't butt in, cried him, chuckling in disbelief. He wasn't exactly disproving her point with that. That's true. I leaned over to whisper to you. It's okay, he likes to be included, but since Clifford insisted on cooking all by himself, you'll have to wait. The two of us can chat. The next question continued to be said in a hushed tone, just to be safe. So, how are you doing? Boy. I don't like not answering her question. So, where's my D4? There it is. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. Oh, I'm good. Sarah didn't seem too convinced by her awkward phrasing, but she nodded anyway. She opened her mouth to say something more, but something lightly pounding footsteps caught your attention. You checked to see Cove emerge from the hall a few moments later. You might have heard all the commotion and left his room to see what was going on. If I'd been that eager to see my friend, I would have been waiting downstairs. But maybe he just didn't feel like it. He quickly took stock of the situation. Jules, you made it. Thanks for coming. Cove's voice was unnaturally loud. I thought you wouldn't be able to hear him from where you were, only a few feet away. Hey, Cove, you doing okay? Yeah, I'm fine. You didn't sound convincing at all. You narrowed your eyes suspiciously, but didn't call him out on it. If you could talk to him alone tonight, maybe you'd ask him what was going on then. It was when you glanced away from Cove that you spotted his parents watching the two of you interact. Cove noticed their stares too, meeting them with narrowed eyes.
So...
Are we having dinner now? Not yet, bud. I'm still cooking. Alright, I'm gonna go back to my room. He turned to leave. He bent his head to the side to face you. You coming? The question was quiet, but you heard it clearly. He smiled, pleased that he asked, and nodded in the affirmative. Cove turned fully and made his way down the hall. Have fun, you two. We'll call you when the food's ready to go. With that, you followed after Cove. The two of you made your way down the hall. Ooh, okay. You get to decide how often you've done this before. So, there's my D6. Come on. I got you. Okay. I win. Oh, this is my Vox Machina set from Critical Role. I know it's Vox Machina because the D20 has a VM where the 20 should be. I hadn't realized that. So pretty neat. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. First time you were invited to see Cove's room. Cove got to the door first, opening it and stepped inside. You joined him. There was a mat on the floor in front of the door. As you stepped over the threshold of his room, you felt the quencher's fan beneath your feet. You glanced down. Sand was plastered around the entrance. You could spot smaller amounts of it dusting the rest of the room's floor. Though you hadn't anticipated it, you weren't surprised at the sight. The first beach boy Cove Holden would get to his room all sandy. So this is my room. Cove was a bit shy as he said so, fidgeting with the hem of his shirt used in one hand and vaguely gesturing to the space with the other. There's stuff you can sit on if you want. Yeah, it looks like he has a bunk bed and he uses the top bunk for storage. Makes sense. Surfboard. The shelves kind of match the bed, which makes sense. That's pretty cool. I like that shelf to show off his shelves. Oh, and an aquarium. You look over at the desk chair as an option. When you turn back, Cove was already sitting on the edge of his large bed. You're trying to make your own beach with all this sand? We're going to roll a d4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do that again. It's out. 4. I'm not sure what to do. You glance around the room again. Just so it looks like you were doing something. You really don't have to keep standing. I know that. What's the next go? Go smile when you made yourself at home beside him. You grinned back. The giant square on your face began to drift. You stared at the bright fish swimming in the tank. There was a bunch of them floating to and fro in the open space. They stood out starkly against the green aquarium plant. How long have you had those fish?
I guess.
My dad bought them for me not very long after I moved here. I guess it's been years now. Wow, that's a long time. He peered carefully into the tank. The fish looked to be doing well. You must take good care of them. Most of them were small, but there was one especially big one. What are their names? I don't name them. Well, not really. Lifted an eyebrow at that. Continued the explanation sheepishly.
I mean...
Mostly I just call them things based on what they look like. Squirt for a small one, tangerine for a really orange one, that sort of thing. I've had a lot of fish, I'm not that good at coming up with names. Oh, I feel that. Sometimes it's hard to come up with a name. I find it funny, find it surprising, relatable. D6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3. Relatable. You didn't have any pets, but you always had trouble naming your stuffed animals or whatever else. It's just a hard choice. Well, a couple of them have other types of names. I'm going to a small orangish redfish. It was minding its own business away from the others. My dad named her Dreamcatcher, and that other one's named Mark. Mom came up with that one. Cove smiled to himself, his eyes reflecting the glow from the tank. You let other people name your fish?
It's nice.
He then turned to you, tilting his head to the side. There was a considering look on his face. You want to name one? Let's go this one. Let's now for a little at your interest. Sure. The few who don't have names are the newer ones. You can pick which you want to name. Pointed each of the recent acquisitions out to you. The first was the smallest fish in the tank. It was completely orange and fits all over the place, running wax around the others. The second was slightly bigger and red. Its tail was dotted with black spots, which almost resembled freckles. Last fish was the biggest one. Its multicolored scales rippled under the bright light of the tank as it slowly made its way across the vast expanse. You went with Dokies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. The smallest fish. I only nodded at your answer, waiting on you to decide on a suitable name. You watched the fish you chose closely. As you did, a name eventually came to you. Yeah, we're gonna name our fish Cove. Let me double check something. Okay, that was the one in that frame. Okay, so we're gonna name it Dash. Alright, it's Dash. With that, his attention moved from you to the text he fondly at it and its inhabitants. Now proudly at Dash as it swam through the tentacles of the plants, disappearing and reappearing soon after. Now it picked Dash because it was the one that zooms around the others, so it made sense. You know, I'm not allowed to have pets in my house, not even fish. The corners of Cove's lips turned down at that. That doesn't sound fair. As long as fish would make a mess of your house or anything, you just gotta take care of their tanks and feed them and they'll be okay. Yeah, my family, we have always had at least one pet. Generally dogs or cats. We haven't had any other pets. Well, we started out with a cat, and my parents didn't want to get a fish because they were afraid the cat would try to eat the fish. And then by the time the cat passed away, we had a dog, and then we got a friend moved in and brought their pet, and then we just always had at least one pet. Usually, the cat. Okay. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, I get it. They don't want to worry about more lives from the two they're already raising. That's what they say about it. I never thought about it like that before. Your current conversation brought to mind a memory from years ago. You launched into it without any warning, earning you a brief confused look from Cove. One time, Lizzie, Elizabeth, came back from playing at the beach and just shut herself in her room. She only came down for food and then she ran back upstairs straight after. It was kind of weird. My mom didn't think much of it at first, though. But then that night, Mom went into her room to say goodnight and started screaming. Mom and I ran over to see what happened. Lizzie had this huge lizard in her arms. His eyebrows rose at that, and he leaned forward in interest.
Really?
A lizard? Where'd that come from? Lizzie said she saw it half buried in the sand and didn't know what it was. Then she pulled it out and got the answer, so she brought it home. She had the lizard in her room for most of the day because she wanted to keep it. Mom and Ma were not happy. They worried about putting it out during the night, but she was going to have to let it go in the morning. Lizzie was really upset. She did bring it back to the beach eventually, but she wouldn't talk to anyone for days. When she did get over it, it was almost like it never happened. She laughed thinking back to that time. Elizabeth had always been stubborn. When she was younger, she forgot grudges quickly. No, it wasn't so easy. Cove had been quiet for most of the story, apart from the reveal of the lizard. He had a thoughtful look on his face. I can't even imagine what it would be like to have a sibling. He gave serious thought to his statement before he told them, It's a nice idea in general, but my sister is Elizabeth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come on. I win. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 0. 9. Yes. It's a nice idea in general. Maybe if I had someone else as my sibling, I'd like having one more. I have always had a sibling. Even before I was born, I've always had a sibling because I'm a twin. So, I don't know what it's like to not have a sibling at all. Those verses looked super words, considering them quietly for a while.
Cool.
Interesting. I think your family is cool. You didn't have much else to say, so while on the topic of your family, you consider your relationship with your mom, too. Do not want to roll a deep sport because let's go with this one. You get along with your mom. You had disagreements with them, but at the end of the day, you loved them, and they loved you. That was what really mattered. That struck you and your attention suddenly fell back on Cove. Yeah, my mom might not let Elizabeth loan me her pets and stuff, but at least I never tried to pay someone to be my friend. You grinned over at Cove. It had been years since you found out about your first meeting with his dad. It was easy to joke about these days. Cove tossed his head back in an overly dramatic way, sighing heavily. I almost forgot about that. Really?
No way.
No, not really. I'll never be able to forget that actually happened for the rest of my life. It's going to humiliate me forever. And I'm sorry, since I'm going to bring it up forever. Maybe I'll offer to pay you $20 if I stop reminding me about it. He barked out a laugh, not expecting Cove to join in on the kidding. A tiny, amused smile curled along his lips at your reaction. Time passed, but you didn't really notice. The two of you were busy making plans for the rest of the summer and chatting about your respective days. Eventually, you heard a muffled holler from a different part of the house. You and Cove raised your heads in unison.
Oh.
It's time for dinner. Cove watched the firmly shut door he had locked behind him for most of the night, but he didn't make a move to get up from the bed. You couldn't see his face. You didn't know what expression he was wearing. I'm glad you came. Cove peeked back at you from his side. It's been awkward. I get that. It's been hard on you, huh? You felt sympathetic towards him. You didn't know what he was going through, but you cared about him. Cove said nothing else, remained sat where he was. Now would be as good a time as any to ask him why his parents so suddenly wanted you to come over. We're gonna ask. It hasn't been awkward for just me. Sometimes it gets like this when no one else is around, but now you're here. Huh, you hadn't considered that, but it sort of made sense in a way. There was another shout from outside, too muffled to actually know the words, but you could imagine what they were. Let's go. Phil finally got up, lumbering away with his shoulders back. You followed after him. Together, the two of you made your way back to the living room. As you expected, Cove's parents were politely waiting for you at the kitchen table beside the windows overlooking the back of the house. Food had been prepared and set. Miss Holden beamed as you and Cove took your places. I hope everyone's hungry. I cooked up a feast.
Yeah.
I know I am. Yeah. Cove's lovely response wasn't nearly as upbeat as theirs. His parents didn't know, or they pretended not to. Mr. Holden instead looked at you, grinning.
Thanks.
Let's all just take a moment to thank the special guest for being with us here tonight. I'm so glad you were able to make it, Jules, and on such short notice, too. You're right across the street. Come on. Let's say thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you both for inviting me.
All right.
Well, that's it. Everyone, please, dig in. You can help yourself to the food. On his encouragement, you looked over the meal spread out in front of you. There was a large garden salad in the center, surrounded by a variety of Mexican dishes. There were a lot of sides and optional sauces to add. Let's go with very happy. You love Mexican food, and there were so many dishes to choose from, you were practically drooling. Pencils and plates scraped and placed together as the group began filling their plates. Could you pass the salsa verde? Of course. Thank you. Let me just say, you really outdid yourself tonight. I'm so jealous. Jealous of what? You're cooking something with me, Tyra. Those parents made small talk, filling the silence, with what seemed to be barely any effort. He chimed in as well. Did it take you a long time to cook all this, Mr. Holden? Not at all. Sure, this is more than I usually make for me at Cove, but I enjoyed every second of it.
Aha.
Might have been faster if you had some help, though. Cove's mom grumbled, but it was lighthearted. Mr. Holden chuckled and shook his head. Not this again. I make the rules here, and I say guests don't cook. Even when they're staying for literal weeks.
Come on.
Even then. Everything looks great, Dad, as always. Thanks, Sport. Glad you think so. Cove smiled. It was genuine, even if it was strained at the corners. Brief silences interspersed with small talk. You held some food on your plate, waiting for your turn, as someone was serving themselves a dish that you had your eye on. Once the food had been divided and things settled down, Cove's parents started talking again. Now then, you sat up in your seat when you noticed they were both looking at you.
How's it going?
How has everything been over at your house? Are your moms well? You've been keeping busy this summer? Or maybe you're just trying to take it easy during the break. boy. You have really talked to him. Let's go with this one, Mr. But I see you didn't mind the interest. I hadn't expected so many questions, not at once. Still, what else was there to talk about apart from how the summer was going? So the first question, how are things at your house? It's alright. Elizabeth's been home more lately since her best friend is on vacation with her family. She's hugging the TV remote and the phone and anything else she can. So it's not too bad. How your moms are doing? My moms are great. Mom took us out for dessert a couple weeks ago since her project went really well. Yeah, cool. I'll have to congratulate her when I see her. And things are good. You should know what I've been up to since so much has included your family. Mr. Holden laughed loud and short. You caught him off guard with that. A fair point. And that was that for your question, Impton. Tyra and I go on. You can tell she's actually listening to the words you were saying. She's trying to include you, not humor you. Did you know Cliff Jules is really into socializing? Mr. Holden's face lit up and sat eating so he could lean forward, his arms braced against the table.
Nice work.
Oh, that's right. Very cool. Just a hobby. There's nothing wrong with that. It's good to do things just for fun. Everyone needs a hobby. I've been thinking of picking up wood carving myself. I couldn't tell how serious he was being about that declaration. Thanks. Those parents were definitely the encouraging type, but you could already tell that much about them. It was a lone conversation as everyone focused their attention on their respective plates. There comes a point where you're just eating food. That takes your entire attention. Especially if you're hungry. You know, not for the first time that Cliff's parents were the ones guiding the conversation. I wonder if you should break the ice this time. Okay. Come here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Okay, let's kind of the conversation topic today. Mr. Holden was one who spoke, glanced around his son before turning to you with an easy grin. Speaking of hobbies, I've been playing some chess this summer. He and Kyra keep hitting the court together. Who would have guessed? You'd already known that since I was so open with you, but it was interesting to hear his parents' perspective on it. The rest of the dinner continued just like that, with light conversation as you ate your meals. Eventually, all the dishes on the kitchen table were pretty much gone. Kyra set down her fork and rested her arms at her side, playing with a satisfied sigh. Her plate was completely empty.
Thanks.
That was delish. Thank you for your culinary creations, Cliff. Mr. Holden was like a flower, soaking up the rays of the sun. He beamed, flattered by the praise. We'll go with middle. Wait until you're satisfied. They're taking some time to finish it up, but eventually you cleared your plate. Close successfully kept his presence and remained for the full meal. He was slumped over, even now toying with his silverware. Parents practically only talked to you. Most attempts to entice him to join the conversation failed. It wasn't typical for him to say so little. He at least tried to participate. He didn't get much time to contemplate Cove's situation because your attention was taken by Mr. Holden pointedly clearing his voice. Not to sound like a broken record, but thanks for coming, Jules. I'm glad we finally got the chance to have you over for a real dinner.
What?
Did I hear that right? This is the first time Jules has ever had dinner here? Why in the world haven't you invited them over sooner? Cove was always the one going over to Jules' house until now. Yep. I mean, how was I supposed to reject the generous offers of the Hunt family to host my kid? Sarah shook her head, but the amused mouse was pouring told you that she wasn't actually mad. This guy, honestly. The three of you looked at Cove and Houston. His small sound being more than enough to get the focus on him after his silence. By now, he stopped chilling with his fork. Would it be alright for Jules to stay over, for the night? He shot you a shy glance then, smiling a little. If you're cool with that. Mr. Holden's shoulders stiffened. He sat straighter, eyes darting back and forth between you and Cove. Mouth open, but not a peep came out. I'd never seen Cove's dad saying no to him before. This was different from the usual request. It wasn't so simple, and Mr. Holden was lost. Then Cove's mom reached out and took hold of his shirt collar. She pulled him closer. She glanced at you before leaning in and bringing a hand up in front of their faces. The two adults whispered seriously to each other. Cove's eyes opened wider. He leaned forward, as if that would help him overhear his parents' conversation. Mr. Holden kept gesturing with his hands, while Kyra made sure he didn't get too far away with all his movements. Every now and then, both of them would watch you and Cove out of the corner of their eye. It didn't seem like they were fighting for you. They looked more like some kind of Chinese sports team was having a private huddle. After a bit, they broke the powwow. They moved back to sit properly in their chairs. Like a look at Cove, he stared at them expectantly. You were eager to hear their verdict, too. Well, we, Kyra and I, think that should be fine. But... He lifted a finger dramatically, his brows raising as he met Cove's gaze, and then your own. We'll have to talk with Jules' parents to make sure they'll be comfortable with it. If they are, we can arrange for a sleepover to happen on a different night when everyone is more prepared. Jules' folks don't like the idea, there's nothing we can do. There's so many seats with the lights ruggies in his full arms. I also checked out Kyra from the corner of his eye and gave her a quick smile. She nodded approvingly and grinned back. You thought you saw her give him a thumbs up, but her hand was partially blocked by the table. They were so pleased with themselves over the answer, that they just passed the actual decision on whether it was all right or not to someone else, namely, their parents. If this was a sports game, they would have punted the ball away. Cove hung his head, dissuaded. He had been hoping he could stay over today, not some hypothetical time in the future. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4, 0. Four. Hey, you could always think it's your room again. Once I sparkled at the suggestion, I won't be surprised to have him knocking on your window sometime. We likely still would without the invite. That dinner finally came to an end. Mr. Holden stood up from the table and began collecting empty plates. Cove was asked to help out, which he did with little fuss. Sarah tried to lend a hand as well, however Mr. Holden didn't let her, and it seemed she was barred from cleaning as well as cooking. Yeah, you generally don't have guests cook or clean, but she is there for a long-term stay, so it seems kind of silly, but I get where he's coming from. You weren't allowed to chip in either since you were there as a declared guest of honor. Although the meal was over, the night wasn't. It looked like you weren't going home just yet after us. You were asked to wait on the couch. I like that the decor looks different. It's not just reusing the stuff from your house. This house is laid out differently and the decor is different. So I like that. That's cool. While Cove and his dad were cleaning up the mess, Tyra had disappeared down the hall after shooting you a wink. It was a bit strange sitting by yourself while everyone else had something to do. Luckily, you weren't alone for too long. For a couple minutes, Cove's mom returned with a deck of cards in hand, pulled into the room confidently while shuffling. So, who's up for a few rounds? Cove and his dad looked over their shoulders at the question. They were mutually intrigued by the cards in her hands. She beamed at their expressions and stepped further into the living room, ignoring the couch as she sat cross-legged on the floor by the coffee table. She turned to you and gestured at the space beside her, smiling invitingly. You accepted and followed her lead. The living room carpet was soft, but the hardwood floor underneath could definitely still be felt. Clara did an overhand shuffle while she was waiting for the others to finish their task. The smile had yet to leave her lips.
Great.
This is going to be good. Usually her enthusiasm. This one was funny, upbeat, and easygoing. You leaned closer to watch her expertly shuffle the cards. It didn't take much longer for Cove and his dad to wrap things in as to call it good. Cove's dad appeared first, followed closely behind by Cove. Mr. Holden rubbed his hands together in anticipation. All right, I'm ready. As he took a seat across from you on the floor, you noticed that Cove hadn't joined him. He went straight down the hall instead without even a word. He stared on, confused, as he disappeared through his bedroom door. Cove's parents didn't look concerned at the set. Tyra nonchalantly put the deck of cards in two and rifled the house together while offering an explanation of sorts. Cove doesn't keep his wallet with him when at home. He puts it away. What? So quickly returned to the living room, a black wallet in his hand. He took a place at the table with the rest of you. He blinked at Cove and zipped his wallet. Will you use real money in card games with family? They sat there, your hands idling your lap. The three shot looked at one another and sized each other up.
Yeah.
That's right, $5 per round per person. Winner takes all. Go big or go home. Oh, are you planning on kicking Jules to the curb, or do you intend on donating to the Guest of Honor spot, Mr. High Roller? Mr. Holden narrowed his eyes and leaned back against the side of the couch, completely at ease.
No worries.
Jules was to pay, I'll find their way in. Don't you worry about that. Visited an arm across the top of a knee that he propped up. Cove's dad was acting sick in a way you'd never seen before. I appreciated his offer. Thanks, Mr. Holden. His stance instantly became more familiarly friendly when he started directing towards you. No problem, you can count on me. You let me pay for Jules, they're my friends. Mr. Holden grinned with a checklist.
Good kid.
All right, bud, I can see. You're too polite for me. Well, you got your ticket. Interested in throwing in? That's around. This seemed like serious business. In response to your consternation, Kyra softened her competitive smile. Don't worry too much. We'll probably just do some rounds of fish tonight. No biggie.
Do you mind?
What do you think? We'll turn in. I'd love to play. Mr. Holden gave you a big thumbs up for Cove nodded firmly back. Okie dokie. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. Decent at Go Fish. Sometimes you won, sometimes you lost. Like things weren't bad at it, though. Fantastic. You play for however long everyone wants to keep going, or until people start running out of cash but are still refusing to quit while they're behind. Speaking for yourself, I see. With a laugh, Kyra nudged you using an elbow, then motioned towards the other two with her chin. Don't be fooled by their soft faces, these boys are sharp. In a reaction to her words, Mr. Holden stirred, and Cove's eyebrows became more angry. Kyra's phrasing made you think back to when you were young, specifically of Mr. Holden's favorite sharp pants that he used to wear all the time. Perhaps had a bit of fit for him in ways you didn't know of. You feel tension in the air. Cove and his parents glued their eyes to one another, then all placed $5 bills from an empty space in front of them. Cove dropped an extra $1.30, giving you a tiny smile after he did. Just as he went, Kyra began dealing out cards to everybody. It was time to begin. First round came and went quickly with the group getting into the groove of things. You won right away, which meant you had money to keep playing the second round. You're a natural. Nicely done. You'd better keep those wits about you for the next round, though. As the night went on, so did the games. Mr. Holden would jokingly shake his fist whenever someone other than him got a pair. Kyra acted as a news anchor, reporting on every move everyone made by speaking into her curled fist. Those were still a few words, but that was because he was focused on the game instead of being overcome with awkwardness. Most of the time, he was spotted a smile on his lips. You won quite a few games to your delight. You had a hefty money pile on your side of the table. You must regret paying Jules' way in now, huh? No way. Jules might be beating me, but they're also beating you two. Cove turned towards you and smiled, looking pleased at your ability to match his mom and dad. You grinned at him, touched by his speedy comeback. It became clear that where the money went in the moment didn't really matter. They ended up giving it back to one another in other ways, and not just through more rounds of cards. You sat back, looking out of the scene. A tiny smile grew on your face. Cove's family was pretty cool, you thought. You were glad you got this chance to come over to spend time with the three of them. Okie dokie. Save. Perfect. Road trip. Even though you were awake, the sun had barely peeked its head above the horizon, and the sky was still dark, still lightning by the minute. Usually you wouldn't be up so early, especially during summer vacation, but today was different. Today, instead of the lazy days you were used to, everything around you was a flurry of activity as both your family and coach prepared for what lay ahead. It was parked in the street just outside your house was a massive RV camper, so big you couldn't even see Cove's house behind it. His parents had rented the RV for a few days to take him on a short road trip to the Redwood National Park. He glanced at Cove, who was standing nearby, taking in the scene in front of him. The prospect of the trip had to be a mixed bag for him, but it was only 3 days, so it seemed he was dealing with it as best he could. Especially now you and your family were joining them. You weren't sure how exactly it had happened. You knew your parents and Cove spoke to each other often, and somewhere along the way, plans were made after Cliff offered to share the space. Parents all thought it was a fantastic idea. Of course they did. Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't have agreed to it if they hadn't thought it was a great idea. So, you'd already gotten a good look inside while helping to load everything in, and you had to admit that while it's a really big car, putting that many people inside is going to be nuts.
Let's go.
Move it or lose it, kiddo. Mom bustled past with a cooler in one hand and a large bottle of water under the other. She was upbeat for this early in the morning. Ma, however, seemed to be on the other side of the wavelength. She followed behind her wife, dragging her feet on every step. I'm going to need a full jug of coffee when we hit the road. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4. You could relate to mine. It was way too early. You yawned and rubbed at your eyes, still sleepy from the early morning wake-up call. The air outside was still damp from dew, and that helped make you a bit more alert. And then, at the end of the train, came your sister. She had a bone to pick before the trip officially started. Her rallying up the peaks added some level of normalcy to everything new going on. I don't get why I can't sleep in the bed tonight. Jules is the youngest, and I'll never fall asleep in that loft. We're trying to make things fair on everyone. If you want to play the older card, you should be opting to take the lost gold next. It's important for big sillies to make sacrifices for the younger ones. Elizabeth Huff, not happy with that answer in the slightest, and folded her arms, leaning back against the side of the RV. The trip plans had been nailed down prior, sleeping arrangements included. Elizabeth still held on to her objection system. There was a main area of the RV with a couch, loft, and some floor space. At the end of the car was a room with a large bed. Your moms were sharing the bed. Kyra was on the couch, and father and son intended to sleep on the floor. They don't determine you and Elizabeth would switch between a small loft above the driver's seat and sharing the bed with mom. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Starting with parents can be awkward. Yeah, you're a teenager now. You weren't a kid anymore, and yet you were going to have to sleep next to your mom? They assured you they'd try to give you space for the one that you had to share, but you were still not pleased. Alright, you lot. Does everyone have everything they need? We're heading out in 5 minutes now. It's time to double check. You don't want to forget something important. At the word, Elizabeth yelped and dashed back into the house, her bedhead hair bouncing behind her as she went. Ma came over and gave you a smile, setting her hands on her hips. How about you, Jules? Do you have all your clothes packed, toiletries, deodorant, swabs, anything else you can think of? Okay. I like her robe. It's pretty. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. You just give her a flat look. You weren't 8 years old anymore. You were 13 and more than capable of remembering what to bring on a trip. All right. I like to fuss. I love that their moms are pretty easygoing. Mom last time went softly and ruffled your hair before she walked out. With a few minutes left to spare before leaving, you mentally went over all what you had packed for the trip. So, a pillow and blanket, usual day-to-day gear for most people. You also had more personal things, such as a ball, because of course, it was trying to break out a ball to play around with in the field behind your house, so you thought everyone might enjoy having something to do while at the park. A couple of things to read. You packed one of your old favorites and a new one you never tried before. You knew you had plenty of time for them both on such a long drive. An MP3 player with headphones. With so much time going to be spent driving in a car, you wanted to make sure you'd be able to have some music to put on. I mean, obviously that's probably going to be a radio, but there's no guarantee that whatever's going to be on the radio is something you'll enjoy. And a camera. It's just a little pocket camera you got in front of your mom's, but you couldn't miss the opportunity to take some new snaps. And my favorite stuffed animal. That feeling always made you feel more comfortable whenever you went somewhere new. Like taking a little piece of home away with you. And that was everything. Here, let me take that for you, Jewel. I'll throw it in the RV. This piece cost less, it'll fit. You let Kara take your bag and gave her a grateful smile. With nothing left to do, you watched the others getting ready for the trip. Kara and Cliff seemed to have the most energy of anyone. They were finishing packing the suitcases away while your moms had gone to lock up the house. They high-fived whenever another one got crammed into the storage compartments of the vehicle. Even though your own parents were more low-key than Cove's, you could tell they were both excited for the trip. It had been a while since your family had been away anywhere together. Elizabeth skipped towards RV, a bag slung over her shoulder, and you were surprised to see that she seemed more optimistic about the whole ordeal now. Usually she wasn't one to exit the confines of her room unless it was for TV or food or to leave her family behind to be with friends. Yeah. Because apparently you don't have TVs in your room. I mean, that's the case of my family. The only TVs are in the family room. But we have computers now, so we could play DVDs in our rooms anyway. You would have thought 3 whole days packed in an RV with 6 others would be too much for her, but it was a nice surprise. Suppose any vacation was better than no vacation in her mind. Love had been pretty quiet so far, and more than anything seemed to be overwhelmed by the situation. Yeah, it makes sense that he would find it really difficult to handle. Okay, we're going to skip this one and this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. We're curious about the RV. You never stayed overnight in one before. You wanted to know what it'd be like. Soon the miscellaneous remaining tasks had all been wrapped up. Everyone piled into the RV. It was officially time for the trip to start. As it did. So after his first shift driving, he consciously navigated the massive car out the narrow neighborhood streets. Yeah, I took a road trip with my family when I was about 10. We took 2 regular cars. My dad drove one, and my mom and my grandma stopped driving the other. But my dad loves to drive. My mom, not so much. And my grandma had back problems, so she couldn't drive for too long. It was touch and go for the first part of the journey. Their moms and Kyra were all huddled at the front, trying to get a view of how much space they had on each side. There was a sense of relief when the first long leg of the trip was hit, and the RV would only need to go down one stretch of highway for miles. The mom group cleared out of the driver's area, leaving Cove's dad to it, taking more comfortable seats around the main cabin. It felt like he could finally relax now, too. Time slipped by as morning faded away. Before you realized it, the engine of the RV came to a stop, but only held him for a few moments as Cliff climbed out from the driver's seat, and Mom took over. Mom was sitting shotgun, giving Mom a quick tutorial on the controls, as it was her first time driving anything this large. I have yet to drive anything really big. Because I said gun with pickup driver station wagon, I've never driven a van, let alone anything larger than that. Cliff groaned as he headed towards the rest of the view, stretching his arms above his head and loosening up his muscles. We're making good progress. Yeah, maybe you should take a nap in the back for a while. That was a long haul you just did, and I know you're on less sleep than usual. Jeff waved a hand, that trademark grin of his slipping into place.
Nah.
I don't need sleep. I've still got a few miles in the old tank. He flexed an arm, showing off his muscles to drive the point about how resilient he was home. Tyra rolled her eyes in amusement. Dad, everyone has to sleep. Joe shook his head at the tough guy act. The Cliff simply chuckled and ruffled his son's hair.
So?
Are you going to be driving again anytime soon, Mr. Holden? I want to know so I can prepare. Did anyone pack some rope? I might need it. There's no seatbelts up here. Elizabeth called down from where she was lounging in the loft above the driving compartment. She was laying on her back, her hair falling on one side, and swinging around as the RV started up again and took off down the road. A bag of potato chips was bounced on Elizabeth's stomach as she tossed a couple more in her mouth. Ryan's Cliff held a hand to his chest, pretending to be offended by the remark. Tyra laughed lightheartedly.
Don't worry about that.
Lucky for all of us, we have enough adults to cover the shifts today. You won't be driving again until tomorrow. It's not his driving. I'm worried about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. He stayed quiet. He didn't have anything to add to the conversation, but it was pretty funny all the same. Mom then shouted back in her seat to join the conversation, a playful smile tilting her lips. What I'm more worried about is this old monster made us there and back again before falling apart. It looks as though it was built in the early 90s. It must be older than some of the occupants. That's just the aesthetics of the decor. It's not that old, I think. Guess what year the model was before you rented it? Tyra wrinkled her nose and thought.
Hey!
Yes, I did. I just can't remember what the answer was. Cliff chuckled at her while the rest of you let out a collective sigh. The RV lurched a little as it picked up speed, then you held on to the ladder up to the loft to keep your balance. You felt something graze the top of your head before a weight settled on your blue hair. When you took your chin up carefully to look, you heard the rustling of the bag of chips and realized that Elizabeth had rested the end of it on your head. She gestured to the opening, silently offering to share her snack. Sure. Reaching up, you scooped up some chips. After that, the weight of the packet left your scalp. He wants in. Come on. Come here. He goes right to the whip. Nice silly cat. Oh. Alright. Back to the story. You happily munched your way as the conversation continued on, and you got closer and closer to your destination. The day flew by with the group of you chatting, playing games, and passing the time together before finally arriving at the park and setting up for the night. Mom was closing windows while everyone got ready for bed, saying goodnight to the others as she made her way to the back room. You had all had dinner together while still driving, and some hours after it arrived at your destination, they found a spot to park in for the rest of your stay. Even look across around the RV, you noticed almost everyone there was already dozing off where they were, with Cove having completely fallen asleep curled up in the passenger seat. It must have done so while Kira was driving the last leg, and they had decided not to disturb him. Kira herself was the only one up there who was still awake, flipping through a magazine next to a portable light from her spot on the park. See, Mr. Holden needed to sleep despite his claims. Yep. Follow your moms into the back room and close the door behind you before crawling out to the bed between them. It was a queen-size bed, so there was enough space for the three of you together without too much squishing.
Good night.
Got a good rest, Jules. We've got a big day ahead of us tomorrow.
That's fantastic.
I'm looking forward to the bushwalk in the morning. It's been a long time since I've gotten in nature like this. There will be plenty for us to see. Stayed awake for a little while longer while your moms whispered about the park and the forest in general. With the sound of their voices in the background, eventually you nodded off to sleep. Next morning, you were up bright and early preparing for the day ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5. You had an okay sleep. It was nothing compared to your bed at home, but at least you didn't have to sleep on the floor, so you couldn't complain too much. Smile whined a bit about the firmness of the mattress, but Mom had only encouraged her to enjoy the trip while she could. But looking for a spot to get ready, you had some trouble finding a space of your own, as the others were doing the same thing. Cove was perched on top of the counter, brushing his hair and tucking in his legs every time someone wanted to move past. His parents were checking, double-checking, and triple-checking that you had everything to the point where you had stopped listening to them altogether. You knew you must return to the RV all that day, but by the look of the backpacks that were packed up and ready to go, showed everything was missing from them. It didn't take much longer until you all exited the RV and a bus and headed into the Redwood National Park.
Wow.
Cove had his head tilted up towards the canopy of trees, his eyes wide, as he kissed a massive trunk on either side of you. You knew that the redwood trees here were considered the tallest trees on Earth, but you weren't prepared for exactly how huge they would be in person. I had never been there, so I believe I live in the same state, but it's... Let's see. Redwood National. Okay, yeah, I live in California, but the Redwood National Park is up near the border with, I think it's Oregon. I think it's Oregon, right above California. Yeah, and I live much further south, so I have never been there. But now that gives people an idea of where this is taking place. So this suggests that whichever beach you're living at is most likely somewhere in California. I mean, it could be Washington or Oregon, but I don't think it gets as warm as it does in California. Are you going? Back into my cat. You're such a goof. He likes to be up high. So he's watching me from on top of my bookcase. Okay. Continuing on.
Come on.
Wow, you two. He spun in just in time for Kara to snap a picture of you and Cove together before she pointed her camera at Cove, trying to get a shot, despite his weak protest that she should just enjoy the moment. The parents were walking behind the group a little, with Mom telling Moss some information she had read about the park from her shore. Mom listened happily while looking around, taking in the sights every now and then, asking a question or making a joke about something Mom had said. He smiled at them, thinking your mom must have read a lot of pamphlets to know so much about the park. Maybe you should come and work here as a tour guide if you know so much about the place. Elizabeth teased, earning a squeeze on the nose from your mom. She seemed to be enjoying herself, but he thought that might just be because she was amused by everyone else's reaction. One of these actually getting stared at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You were in a good mood. The air was fresh and clean, and it was nice to be outdoors with the people you loved most. You were certain that this was only the beginning of what would be a great day. The adults had decided on some casual nature walks rather than any serious hiking, and strolled along at your own pace, taking in the scenery. Elizabeth sped up a little, smirking at Cove as she found a place between the two of you. Immediately you could tell by her expression she was going to say something taunting. I can't believe our families are actually on vacation together. She threw her arms out, speaking with a genuine sense of bewilderment. I would have joked about something like this happening, but now I'm not sure I want to give them any more ideas. Cove smiled at her, even if it was a little awkwardly, and continued walking along. Just watch. Next year they'll be talking about their next new amazing idea. put on a fake voice deeper than her own. We should just sell both our houses and move in together. Think of how much we'd save on the mortgage. It was where Elizabeth was being sarcastic. Cove shook his head, not really bothered by her. I suppose he was used to it by this point. But seriously, they really do act like we're a single family just because we live across the street from each other. Elizabeth gave you and Cove a look, her eyes glinting with mischief as she leered at you.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we will be related, legally anyway. She said it as though she was a gossipy old lady. Maybe. I guess you and me could get married, Elizabeth. Yes! Excellent! Well done, Cove. Well done.
What?
What? Me? Sorry. Yeah, that way Jules would be my sibling-in-law. That would be fun. Elizabeth stuck her tongue out at Cove as if the very idea was ridiculous. I think I like this one and this one best. I'm not sure which one I want to do though. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3. I'll marry you, Cove. We must unite our family ties to increase our pull in the community. Political marriage? That might be alright with you. Then it's an agreement.
Sure.
Okay. Elizabeth poked out her tongue at the both of you, giving you a sour look. She walked ahead, obviously not getting the responses she was looking for, and you and Cove swapped a nice look. The day continued on with plenty to see and experience. You passed a few different activities that you would have liked to try out if you had time, such as kayaking and rock climbing, but Ma said that would have to wait for another trip. My cat is staring at something. I'm not sure what. His name is Shadow, by the way. But he's gray. He likes to follow people around. Shadow them. There was a little stream during the walk that we sat beside and set out a picnic for lunch, nibbling on a selection of fruit, sandwiches, and chips. Various birds flew by overhead, and you made a game out of guessing the species that were hanging out in the trees nearby. You even managed to get a couple of them right, including the kingfisher that grabbed half a cooked sandwich. Opportunistic bird. This one. You were disappointed to only have one day in the park. There was so much here, and you felt like you'd need a whole week, maybe even more, to experience it all. You sighed quietly to yourself, wondering if you'd get the chance to come back. The group made it back to camp just as the sun was setting in the sky and the stars were appearing one by one. Everyone had enjoyed different parts of it most. You traded stories of what you thought while you were eating dinner, and afterwards you pitched in to help clean up. You, along with Elizabeth and Cove, got to head back to the RV early and spend some time together while the parents stayed outside longer. It was nice to have the space to yourselves after the cramped journey there, and while Elizabeth had locked herself in the back room with her headphones, you and Cove were left in the main lounge area. Of course we're going to hang out with Cove. He's my buddy. You might as well get comfortable. Who knows how long they'll be out for. He took a seat on the sofa while Cove sat down on the other end, tapping his fingers against his knees. You know, I don't ever see you wearing a jacket, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like wearing as few layers as possible. It's easier that way. Yeah. My brother doesn't wear many layers either. He very rarely actually wears a jacket. Even during the winter, he tends to wear a flannel shirt. I think I read somewhere that guys tend to run warmer than women. Could be wrong, but it certainly seems to be the case with my brother. I'd rather be cold than extra hot. It's kind of a pain to carry extra clothes around. My parents made me bring this jacket. I took one of these kids. 1, 2, 3, 4. One. I love wearing layers. This There's something about lawn players that makes you feel less nice and comfortable. Coach smiled lightly at you and nodded. I've noticed. Let's finish the subject. That conversation ran its course. Daddy asked Cove Holden he would have liked to do in the park if he had more time here. The two of you ended up chatting about various outdoor activities available: kayaking, rock climbing, hiking, horseback rides, wildlife walks, and so many things to potentially choose from. And my cat's back in the window. You made an agreement that if one of you ever had the chance to come back, you'd bring the other too. That way you could try it all together again. And if you're old enough, hopefully without your parents hanging around. The parents all arrived soon after, each of them climbing into the RV and finding some place to sit down and rest their legs. Those with having heard the commotion came out from the room for the first time since arriving and joined you all. We spent the evening chatting and playing a few games, enjoying the last evening of the trip together. Bedtime arrived within the blink of an eye. As the group hunkered down for the night, your mom did a final round to be sure nothing had been left behind. She explained that Cliff was going to start driving early in the morning, like on the first day, but would be letting everyone else in the group sleep. There wouldn't be a need for all of them to get up. Yeah, I mean, you're just going to be driving. You don't have to pack the RV like you did that first day. Sorry, being a little stuffy. Now was the time to check your out and like anything outside. You, as well as everyone else, were confident you had it all packed up inside the RV, so it was time to get some rest before the journey home tomorrow. The moms and Elizabeth said goodnight, heading to the back room while you climbed up to the loft. Melvin and Sterling got situated down in the previously set arrangement. You tried to get comfortable as a million thoughts were running through your mind. That was me. I have woken up in the middle of the night the past few nights, and it always takes me a while to get back to sleep because once I wake up, my brain starts burning, and it's hard for me to stop so I can get back to sleep. But it's been proven that as long as you rest, even if you don't sleep, that's better than just trying to not bothering. It was hard to believe that the trip was practically over, and before you knew it, you'd be back in your own bed at home. Yeah, we're going to go with the first one. You enjoyed this mini adventure. It was short, that was true, sure, but you got to see and do so much during your time here. All in all, it was a nice break away from home. The minutes ticked by silently. It didn't take long for the soft snores of Seth and Kyra to drift up to you. They were asleep now. You wondered if Cove was still awake and decided to poke your head out from the loft to find out. You blinked through the dark. Looking down the hall, you noticed Cove laying on his back, his eyes staring straight up at the ceiling. His seafoam hair was spread out on his sleeping bed. He must have thought you were watching him because suddenly his eyes locked on yours. It was difficult to see much in the dim light, but you could make out the crooked smile on his face well enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5. Made a silly face. Cove rolled his eyes at you, or at least he thought he did. Answered for him to come over. Cove wasn't sure about it, but you were happy to see him slowly start to sit up anyway. The sleeping bag rustled as he moved, though he tried to go slow, and froze up like a deer in the headlights every time he made a sound, touching his parents for any sign of movement. Eventually managed to maneuver around his sleeping dad and make it to the ladder, standing on the bottom rung where he looked up at you and whispered, "What?" "You want to come up?" His eyes widened just so. You could only tell because he had come to where you were. Cove glanced behind him quickly at his sleeping parents before turning back to you. "Okay." Broke out into a grin and scooched back as far as you could, making space for Cove to crawl in. He was very tall, so it wasn't a great fit for him. He managed to squeeze himself in. You understood how that felt, and with the two of you in the loft together, there was barely any room to move. You laid down next to each other on your sides, face to face. He got under the blanket a bit. One of his arms was nestled under his head for comfort. The other had nowhere to go and was resting alongside his chest on the floor of the loft. Cove spoke to you softly. "What am I doing here?" Cove raised an ironbrow, not having expected you to bring that up now. "It isn't a big deal for us both to be in the loft, right?" It's not some huge thing. We've shared a million times by now, and usually they're the ones encouraging us. Cove gestured in the direction of the parents, and you nodded in agreement. They had always tried to put you and Cove together, ever since you were little. I wonder how much trouble we'll be in if we get caught. It wouldn't be nearly as much as we would have been in if my mom shot you. Found out you snuck into my room for the night at the start of summer. He winced just imagining it. Still can't believe I did that and didn't get caught. It was a very dramatic morning. You could easily picture his frantic escape in your mind's eye. You're kind of a troublemaker, aren't you, Cove?
I mean...
No, I don't think so. Cove trailed off as he lost in his own thoughts. Hey, do you remember the very first time I slept over at your house? He laughed quietly and nodded, the memory coming back to mind so vividly, a smile grew on his face. I hated being in a different place back then. I wanted to leave. I had to sleep on the floor next to me so I'd feel better. He had to spell laugh at the memory. We were such kids. Why didn't we share a bed if the plan was to sleep in the same spot anyway? I was trying to do the best I could. The sleeping bag was your sleeping place, and I just thought I needed to go sleep where you were. You didn't give me a lot of time to think. You were trying to run out the door alone. Cove laughed quietly again, stifling the noise of his hand. His shoulders shook. He tried hard not to let it through.
Sorry.
I'm sorry I was like that. I just couldn't take any more changes when I was little. We're going to comfort him. You don't have to apologize. That wasn't your fault. He smiled at Cove, showing that it wasn't a problem, and he gratefully returned with one of his own. He spent the rest of the night smooshed up and a little bit locked together, whispering about your past memories and trying not to giggle too loud at the silly things they'd gotten up to together over the years. Eventually the chatting trailed off, and when you noticed, Cove had drifted off to sleep, followed him soon after. When you woke up the next morning, you could see the rumble of the RV as it traveled the long journey home. You noticed quickly that you weren't as warm as you had been during the night. When you checked next to you, Cove was gone. Blinking sleepily, you clicked over the edge of the lodge to find out where he had gone. Maybe he had slipped back to his spot on the floor during the night? However, you soon noticed him sitting on the couch, talking quietly with his mom. His head hung in embarrassment. The moment gave you away, and Kyra suddenly looked up and caught your eye. She simply smiled amusedly at you, and it was obvious what happened. Cove hadn't gotten away with it. They found him there in the loft, and then you woke up while he was trying to explain. You know it's going to be a long, long time before it lived this one down, if you ever did. Soon your mom and Elizabeth emerged from the room, dressed and ready for the day of travel. You spent most of the day hanging out together in the RV, savoring the last few hours of vacation. Kyra suggested a few different travel games she used to play with Cove when he was younger. We all had a great time competing against each other. A little later in the day, you tried to talk to Cove about what happened in the loft, but he simply apologized and changed the subject. It was a bit too much for him to try speaking on, especially right now. You understood. When the RV finally pulled onto your street, it was well into the night, and you were looking forward to going into your own bed after the last few days away. Everyone else must have been feeling the same, because it was mutually agreed that unpacking and cleaning the RV would wait until morning. Once home again, you went straight up to your room and dropped onto your bed, shoes and all. Good question. Which one? That's 5 options, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4, 0. 4. Wish you were still on the trip. There was so much more you wanted to see and do, and being away from home had a special kind of feeling to it. It was sad that it ended. With those last few thoughts drifting through your mind, it wasn't long before you just left to sleep. Tomorrow, life would go on like normal. And that's it for the standard moments. I can remember how to do this. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. I don't want to push myself. So, yeah. Next week we will start with the DLC moment. And probably finish them up the week after. There's no way we're going to get through 5 in one session. So I hope you all enjoyed this. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And there's plenty more videos live streams for me to watch. You can find all the previous videos for our live beginnings and always on my YouTube channel. I even have a playlist set up, and there's playlists for the other live streams I've done. So yeah, I hope people are enjoying this, and we'll pick this up again next week. Take care, everyone.